Nelson Mandela was born on July 18, 1918, in the village of Mvizo, in the Eastern Cape province of South Africa, into the Thembu royal family. His birth name was Relilila Mandela, which means pulling the branch of a tree or troublemaker. He later earned the name Nelson from a teacher at school, as it was customary to give African children English names. Mandela grew up in a rural setting, but after his father's death, he moved to the town of Kunu, where he was raised by a guardian and received his education. He attended Fort Hare University and the University of Witwatersrand, where he studied law, making him one of the few black South Africans with a formal education at that time. Anti-apartheid activism. Mandela became involved in activism in the 1940s, initially working as a lawyer in Johannesburg, where he met other future leaders of the African National Congress, ANC. The ANC was a political party dedicated to fighting for the rights of black South Africans. In 1944, he co-founded the ANC Youth League, which advocated for a more radical approach to fighting apartheid, a system of racial segregation and discrimination that had been institutionalized by the National Party government in 1948. In the 1950s, Mandela was involved in campaigns of civil disobedience against apartheid laws. In 1952, he became the National Volunteer-in-Chief for the Defiance Campaign, which called for peaceful resistance to unjust laws. He also worked as a lawyer with Oliver Tambo, another prominent anti-apartheid figure, and together they ran the first black law firm in South Africa. Arrest, trial, and imprisonment. In 1961, after years of peaceful protest, Mandela became involved in organizing armed resistance against the apartheid regime through the Umkhonto we Sizwe, MK, the armed wing of the ANC. The group carried out acts of sabotage against government facilities. In 1962, Mandela was arrested for illegally leaving the country and organizing strikes. In 1964, during the Rivonia trial, Mandela and several other leaders were convicted of sabotage and sentenced to life imprisonment. He spent 27 years in prison, mostly at Robben Island, before being transferred to other prisons, including Pollsmoor Prison and Victor Verster Prison. While in prison, Mandela became a global symbol of the struggle against apartheid. International campaigns calling for his release grew stronger over the years, and sanctions were imposed on South Africa, making the apartheid system increasingly untenable. Release and presidency. Mandela was released from prison on February 11, 1990, after negotiations between the apartheid government and the ANC. His release marked the beginning of the end of apartheid. In the early 1990s, Mandela led negotiations that resulted in the peaceful dismantling of apartheid laws and the drafting of a new constitution. In 1994, South Africa held its first multiracial elections, in which Mandela became the country's first black president. His pre